My name is Jonathan Parks, and welcome to Jonathan's Nature Crafts. Kind of a place where I have changed the angle of the camera around, though probably in the same little room as where I did this before, kind of in a place where it's easy for me to sit. But what I want to show to you now is these little Bible displays that I made on little floats. Now, the stories behind these ducks and frogs and dolphins or whatever is that when I worked in a hospital years ago, early mid 20s at the time, it was kind of at a time when there were just my own reasons as to why I'd buy lots of little plastic squeaky toys and stuffed animals just to give out to all my coworkers. And I'd tell you I couldn't get into that right now, but the thing of it is that like those floats you see in the coming pictures are of things where there were like that was like the mother or parent figure of the whole set, where with it came three little dolphins, three little frogs, or three little ducks, whatever the creature with it was. And those were like little squeak toys, and I would separate all the little toys out of there and take them into like a big container I'd take to work for my coworkers to kind of pick their presents out of. So that was kind of where all those came from, and we'll tell you all a little more because I failed to mention it when I record the little video clips that are coming up, but you'll notice that there are some little figures of pirates I put in there, and the way that Peter was a sailor according to the Bible, I kind of decided to portray him as a pirate in some of these because there's just been a lot said about, where the Bible says he called down curses when he was denying he knew Jesus, and things about how it could have been bad words because he was a sailor and sailors say a lot of them. And, pirates kind of go with sailors in a way. So that was one reason for that. And you'll notice that there are some Dollar Tree figures of Jesus in there, even a Dollar Tree figure of Jesus that I use as the Apostle Paul in one, and different materials like net material and pipe cleaners and little pieces of wood and a glow figure of Jesus that I use in different ones just to display all the different things. So I hope you will watch and enjoy as I display all of my work. You will note that on this little duck there happens to be a little writing on the side that says, "Come follow me." This was the story about when Peter and Andrew were fishing, and I haven't really studied enough into the story to know all of it, but I know that Andrew was the first disciple that Jesus ever called, and Peter was his brother, and they were also just out there fishing at the time when he called them, and he told them to drop their nets and they weren't catching any fish, and another time he was there and he helped them catch a whole bunch. So just to tell you all here, that's what story this is based on. This one is based on the story of Jesus and Peter in the Garden of Gethsemane. You will note that in here it is hard to see all the pictures from the way it is taken, but this is the one where you see Peter chopping off the ear of Malchus the high priest with his sword, and this is also the scene in which Jesus said, "Put your sword away, for he who drew the sword will also die by the sword. Now I must drink the cup my Father has sent me to drink." There is a little writing I put on the front of this duck that says, "Do not call common what the Lord has cleansed." This is the story where Peter was faint, hungry, and where a blanket was brought down with several animals that, according to the Old Testament, were considered unclean and ones that you weren't supposed to eat. that is what you see in the blanket here. And when the Lord brought down the blanket to Peter, telling him, "Take, kill, and eat," Peter said, "I have never eaten anything that was unclean." And the Lord said to him, "Do not call common what the Lord has cleansed." Note in this one that there are some anachronisms because, of course, there were no guns in those days. But, if you know the story about how Saul of Tarsus went around breathing out murderous threats against believers and had the Pharisees out with him who were, out to kill the believers just like Saul was, then you also know the story about how that Saul was blinded on the roadway to Damascus, as you see there in the front with the little orange or red shirt and the little yellow bandana character, and you see that glow figure of Jesus up there saying, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" Then Saul looked up and asked him, "Who are you, Lord?" And Jesus said, "I am Jesus whom you are persecuting." And Saul asked him, "What must I do?" And Jesus said unto him, "Go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." And later on, he became the Apostle Paul. This is the story about when the Apostle Paul was on a boat and was bitten by a snake, and he was not harmed. You will note that there is a place at the end of the Gospel of Mark where Jesus is saying a quote that says, "They shall pick up snakes in my name, and they shall drink deadly poison, and it shall not harm them." Of course, we know there is no place in the New Testament where we see anything about drinking deadly poison and not being harmed, but when he talked about those who would pick up snakes and not be harmed, he was referring to a future instance with the Apostle Paul, where the Apostle Paul would be bit by a snake and it would not harm him. This may have been the first, but wasn't the only thing I ever made of Jonah and the fish, or Jonah and the whale, however you want to describe the story. Most people refer to it as Jonah and the whale, but the Bible actually says it was a big fish that swallowed Jonah. So I sort of use this little float of a dolphin to be the whale, and those little waves in the background to kind of be things that I painted in different colors to sort of, be whatever else might have been in the water, or maybe another fish swimming by or something like that, whatever it is. But this is just probably, I will say it's the first one of these I ever made, and it's always been a story that to me has been of so much sentiment that I've made plenty other things like it too. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you in the next video. Stay tuned.